Welcome to Pardon the Intermission, a podcast that takes a look at movies, TV, and all things entertainment from the past, the present, and the future. Remember to subscribe and like the podcast and give a review. This helps out the podcast and is greatly appreciated. Now on to the show. Yes, hey everyone, welcome to Pardon the Intermission. I'm Eric.
And I'm Jason.
And we thank you guys for listening to us. As always, you can check out our social media sites. We're on X. I guess I'll just call it X now.
Just call it X.
X. Man. I was calling it Twix.
Right.
We're on Twix. We're on X at PTI_podcast.
And we haven't left Meta, otherwise known as the artist formerly known as Facebook. You can find us there on Meta at Pardon the Intermission, folks.
And also, you can check out Rumble and YouTube. We're starting to put content up there, and just type in Pardon the Intermission. And that should bring in. If you get over there, please subscribe. We're trying to get our subscription count up over there. Subscribe and like our stuff, and that'll help us out definitely.
Yeah, and for those of you who have subscribed so far, for those of you who have downloaded, who have liked, and who have watched our content, thank you so much. Really, it is greatly appreciated. Tell your friends about us. Tell your family members about us. Let's spread the word out there about Pardon the Intermission, folks.
There you go. There you go. You heard it from Jason.
Absolutely.
Please do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or he's going to sing the theme song from, I don't know. What theme song are you going to sing if they don't do it?
Well,
or maybe if they do. Hey, maybe if we get, how about this?
Yeah.
Right now, we're YouTube. We'll just take YouTube. YouTube, we got 9 subscribers. If we can get, let's say, we'll take 20. If we get a total count of 20 subscribers, we've already got 9, so we only need, 11?
11 more.
11 more subscribers.
Yeah.
By, this is August, by September 1st.
Okay.
What will you sing for them? What theme song?
The theme song I will sing for them is the theme song from Bosom Buddies. That starred Tom Cruise and Peter Scolari. You remember?
Classic.
The Billy Joel song, remember?
Yeah.
I don't give.
Okay, that's a preview. That's all you guys are getting.
All right. So
that's all you guys are getting. He will sing.
For those of you who watch Bosom Buddies with Peter Scolari and Tom Hanks, not Tom Cruise, folks. I stand corrected. Tom Hanks. If you watch that sitcom, you'll know who sang the theme song.
We're doing a movie review.
Right. Eventually we'll get there.
We're getting there to the actual show, folks. We went down this great rabbit hole here.
We did, yes.
But we're getting to the actual show. Okay, here's the deal. Before you're going to do, I have not seen it yet, but you've seen it, and I wanted to hear what your take on it, and I'm sure the audience out there wanted to hear also.
Yes.
Wolverine and Deadpool.
Yes.
Or Deadpool, Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay, we're going to get to that movie, but before we get to that, I want to say some stuff.
Please do.
For the first time in my life ever, I actually watched Deadpool and Deadpool 2.
Nice.
Yeah, I've never seen them before. I actually watched them. You know, I don't know why I didn't see them. I think originally I kind of was like being anti-Ryan Reynolds. Because he seemed like he was just in everything.
Right.
And I think at the time, I actually do like him and I like his comedic style.
Yeah.
But I think at the time, I was just kind of sick of him. And I think I was just like, oh, man, I don't want just snarky, Ryan Reynolds. I don't watch a whole stinking movie of that,
So it was more like Ryan Reynolds' sensory overload for you.
Yeah.
Rather than like a true disdain for him then, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Okay. Yeah, exactly. You nailed it. So I never watched them. I actually just watched them recently because I want to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, but I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe I should watch those to know what's going on. I don't know if that's true or not. Did I need to or not?
Well, a little bit. A little bit. And I'll get into that when we're ready to.
But I guess the character of Deadpool and, Deadpool, it's good just to know the character, right?
It is, yeah.
And his origin, because basically, essentially, especially with one, it goes through his origin story.
Very well, I might add.
Yeah, and I would say that I loved them. I thought they were great. Great movies. 1 was really good.
Yeah.
2 wasn't bad. For some reason, I've heard a lot of people since now. I've kind of seen some reviewers. Cause I'm like, well, what do other people say about the movies after I watched them?
Yeah.
That I usually, watch myself, the reviewers, and they were like, they didn't like 2. But I didn't think it was bad. I thought, it may not be great, and I'm not really into like the whole characterization of like what was the name of the big guy, and you had 2. What did 2 have in it?
Well, 2, you had Colossus come back.
Colossus, yeah. Maybe.
One of the original X-Men.
And then you had
Negasonic Teenage Warhead came back for it.
who was the guy, the time traveler in that?
The time traveler was Cable.
Cable.
Now,
yeah.
Cable is a very popular character. He got his own line of comic books one time. And very popular comic. And so, Cable is basically a mutant who can travel through time. And so in the comics, Cable actually plays a very important role in the whole multiverse, the whole Marvel timeline there as well.
Okay.
And then his character was also in the X-Men animated series that ran in the early to mid 90s as well. But and Josh Brolin, fresh off of playing Thanos, played Cable. And I actually, at the time, I wasn't too keen on Brolin being cast as Cable.
It's like we just saw him as Thanos, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the more I watched his portrayal of the character, I'm like, okay, this is what Cable was really like in the comics.
Oh, so he was pretty true to what the comics were.
Pretty true to the comics. Yeah, he was kind of a tortured soul, lost his family, and he was more of like a kind of like a cross between a futuristic Punisher, actually. A guy who pretty much didn't answer to any laws. He pretty much lived life on his own terms. And he was out to basically do one thing, and that was his job, his mission.
But he had a moral code, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole thing, right? In other words, he had his own code,
pretty much,
that he lived by, like you're saying, and his ends his means justified the ends.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I liked it. I overall I liked it. I think 1, of course, was really good.
And I figure, as a former theater guy, you would have loved all the breaking of the fourth wall there, right?
That really did work. I did like that. So my thoughts on Deadpool 2 is I really enjoyed him. Let me get. It's probably been a while since you've seen him, but I'm sure you've have some opinions on him. What about Deadpool and Deadpool 2? What I'm getting at is, like, did you like them both? Did you not really like one over the other?
I liked them both. I mean, obviously the first one is very, very well done. The second one, there are some lapses in it. It gets a little bit corny, and I think to some extent they try and overdo the breaking of the fourth wall in the second film. And, Ryan Reynolds, like you just alluded to a few minutes ago, his comedic sense of style is able to pull both of those films off as far as delivering the catchy one-liners and catchphrases and everything like that. But I felt in the second one they tried to take the fourth wall, the breaking of the fourth wall, over the top just a little bit more, made it too excessive. One thing I did love about Deadpool 2 was that they finally got the character of not Apocalypse, but of Juggernaut right. So
Juggernaut,
Juggernaut was one of the best villains in the X-Men comic books. He was actually the half-brother of Charles Xavier. The character's name was Kane Marco. And in X-Men 3, The Last Stand, he was portrayed by Vinnie Jones. And, I mean, Vinnie Jones is a really cool actor, but I thought that from a character standpoint, he just didn't fit the role of Juggernaut. And in X3, they tried to, pump him up with some fake muscles to make him look bigger. But the digitalized character of Juggernaut in Deadpool 2 was like, all right, there we go. Now that's Juggernaut, because Juggernaut was one of my favorites in the comic books.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and so I loved even though it was a digital character mostly, still I was willing to meet them halfway and say, okay, this is still pretty good though. Especially I love that scene where he takes that electrical line and shoves it up.
Oh, up his butt.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how he subdues him there.
Yeah, that was great.
And then he falls face down in the pool or something like that. But the second one is not as good as the first. Still worth watching though. So I liked them both.
Yeah, the second one was pretty interesting. I thought, just in the sense of they were like you say, Colossus and
Negasonic Teenage Warhead
was always trying to. Well, Colossus was always trying to get him into the X-Men.
Yeah,
right. It was like, and then they kind of portrayed it as this love story between them, right? Bro love story.
Yep, exactly.
I loved it, and I loved how. So he finally, and what I was getting at is in 2, he finally gives in, and he's a trainee, X-Men trainee or whatever in the beginning of it, and then it's like, of course, everything that goes wrong does. It's like he just can't do it,
right? Exactly,
right? The way. I mean, but that's what makes a movie is that that tension, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But okay, so getting to Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
What is Jason's take on the movie? What did you like? What did you not like? I know from your first reaction when you walked in.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna. I'm gonna say this right now. I know you're gonna recommend it, but
Yes, I will. Yes.
but let's hear it. What do you got for us?
I freaking loved it.
There you go.
I had a lot of fun at this movie.
Really?
Now, I will go on record as saying that this movie is not going to win any awards. Okay, It's not going to win Oscars or Golden Globes for best screenplay or whatever. It's just one of those movies where if you're a fan or if you're not a fan, you can just go in and watch and have a fun time, like Fall Guy, similar to Fall Guy.
Yeah.
So here's the premise of the movie is this: it's not tied into Deadpool 2.
Is there going to be spoilers? Should we?
Some minor spoilers?
Okay, so there might be a minor spoilers, folks,
Yes.
just so you know.
So the whole premise of the movie is this. Okay, so Deadpool finds out that his timeline. So this does delve deep into the MCU a little bit in the multiverse, because the TVA from Loki and WandaVision, or not WandaVision, but the TVA is in it from Loki.
Okay.
And so some characters from that series make a return in this one. And the whole premise around the movie is that...
Is Owen Wilson in it?
No, Owen Wilson is not in it.
Okay.
No. So we can dispel that rumor right away. So the whole premise of the movie is that Deadpool realizes that he has to save his reality, his Earth that he's on
His
from
timeline?
total annihilation. His
Okay.
timeline, yeah. And the only way that he can do that is through Wolverine. Okay, now we know, having watched Logan, that the character of Wolverine was killed off at the end of Logan,
Yeah.
which I thought I was fine with. I was good with that. But the caveat to it is that he had to find a specific Wolverine from each different timeline, go through different Wolverine variants to find a specific one that was going to help save, his timeline or the whole universe.
Okay.
And then to kind of throw a little extra caveat into it, it's that the sister of Charles Xavier, Cassandra Nova, who is very, very extremely powerful, is one of the people behind the whole destruction of Deadpool's timeline. So not only does Deadpool have to find the right Wolverine variant, who happens to be the key to saving the universe, to saving the timeline, but he also has to find a way to prevent Cassandra Nova from continuing to destroy the timeline there as well.
What's her motivation, did they say?
The motivation is
To destroy it?
just to destroy it.
What do they
yeah.
call it? I mean, she's just going to destroy it. Is it what do they call it? Isn't it like clipping it or something? What is the term?
Clipping it, yeah, something
There's
like
some
that.
term for it. I can't remember the TVA
There
had.
is, yeah. And so, so he basically the whole movie starts off with him jumping through different timelines to find the right Wolverine variant. And this
Okay.
is another thing I like about it. All of the cameos that are from different actors from different Marvel movies are in this as well.
I heard there's a ton of cameos in this thing.
And one of my favorite cameos actually involves a character who was not originally part of the MCU, who was actually part of the DCU. How many of you know who Henry Cavill is?
Oh,
Superman,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So there's one particular scene where he's jumping through the different timelines to find the right Wolverine variant, and he sees Henry Cavill cast as Wolverine.
I heard that. Yeah, he's
Yes.
Wolverine, right?
It was amazing. And when I saw Henry Cavill as Wolverine, I'm like, holy bleeping bleep. He could totally be Wolverine.
Wow.
Just because the big physique that he has
Yeah.
and the makeup on him and the hair, he looked like he could be the next Wolverine.
Really?
So he was in there, and then he jumped.
Don't tell me they're going to do this like they did with Fantastic Four, where they, they kind of teased what's his face, what's his name, Zach, as oh my gosh, why am I skipping on the name here?
I don't know.
Who's Fantastic Four? Who's the lead guy?
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards. Who do they
Yeah.
cast as Reed Richards in?
Yoan Grufford.
No. Reed Richards in.
You're thinking of John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember how they did that? We're thinking, oh man, he would be perfect.
Yeah, that was in Doctor Strange.
That was in
Multiverse of
Doctor
Madness.
Strange. Yeah. So, oh man, I hope they don't do this.
Well, I can tell you, John Krasinski is not in this movie as Reed Richards.
Okay.
But and so getting back
No,
to
I'm saying, what I was getting at is I was alluding to Wolverine, though, where they're kind of like
Sure.
teasing. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
he could be Wolverine, and then they do what's his name, Pedro Pascal again as Wolverine, and
No, that definitely does
Oh,
not
my
happen.
God.
So eventually, after he's done hopping around, he finds the right Wolverine variant.
Okay.
Hugh Jackman. Okay, so he tells Wolverine, "Okay, hey, you're the key to saving my universe, to my timeline. I need your help here to find out who's wrecking the timeline, and then we can both, do our thing there." And then, so that's the whole premise of the story there. And
All right.
obviously, throughout the whole movie, there's some. I mean, First of all, folks, if you have young kids, do not take your kids to see this. It's extremely violent. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore in it. The number of F-bombs that are dropped in this movie are so many that it makes Quentin Tarantino blush.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of pervasive profanity, violence, sexual innuendos. So I would, both physical and verbal. So I would not take your kids to see it. But at any rate, it's a fun movie to go watch and see if you like action-packed violence, film, stuff like that. And again, like I said, the cameos are something else I liked about it too, because what they did was they went back and they brought some characters from previous Marvel-inspired movies that have since been deadpanned, and they brought them back into these movies. For example, spoiler alert here, folks, earmuffs, okay? Chris Evans, who was cast as Johnny Storm.
Oh, Johnny Storm, that's right.
Fantastic
Yeah.
Four films. Makes a
Speaking of Reed Richards.
Speaking of Reed Richards, he makes a return as Johnny Storm in this movie.
Awesome.
So what happens is when they get to the point where they find out who, when he gets to the point where he finds Wolverine, they have to end up going to a spot called it's called the Void, if I remember correctly. That's
Okay.
the area that of the particular reality that Cassandra Nova rules. And it happens to be not only ruled by her, but several of these former characters who are actually not really her slaves, but who are her servants, because she is so powerful that she could kill every one of them with just a snap of her fingers.
Okay.
So they're scared of her, which is why they serve her. But so Chris Evans is one of those characters who serves her as fantastic as Johnny Storm. You also have Tyler Mane in it, who played the original Sabretooth in the first X-Men film.
Okay.
He makes a little return in this one. Ray Park, who played Toad in the first X-Men film, a.k.a. Darth Maul from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, makes a return trip in this one. And here's one of the biggest spoilers that I absolutely loved, Eric. Wesley Snipes comes back as Blade.
Yeah, does he really?
Yes.
I didn't know this. I haven't heard this.
Wesley Snipes comes back as Blade. Not only, now, it's not just a little 5-minute, hey, welcome back. He gets a good chunk of screen time in this.
Really?
He's in the final hour and 15 minutes of the film, I would say.
Wow.
So he comes back and reprises his role as Blade. Jennifer Garner, who played Elektra in the Daredevil films and then her own standalone film, comes back in this one. And then there's some of other smaller Marvel characters, like, for example, Pyro from X3, The Last Stand, and X2 is in this. So, yes, the cameos are just galore. They are all over the place. And so for those of you who are like me, who watched some of those other Marvel films before the MCU came about, you're going to like this movie because you'll see a lot of those characters return into this film here.
So you have no gripes as far as the cameos.
I have no gripes as far as the cameos.
Because I've heard some people say that
Yes.
there's like, man, there might be too many cameos.
I can understand that because there was a lot of characters. There were a lot of characters tossed in this movie.
Okay.
And while that was meant, I think, to serve the fans, I also think though that it did the story well because a lot of the cameos were very funny. And like, for example, there's a scene where they get to the Void and Sabretooth sees Wolverine. And when he and Ryan Reynolds or Deadpool are caught by Sabretooth and some of the other people who serve Cassandra Nova. So they're brought back to the Void. And when they get back to the Void, Sabretooth sees him and he says, "I know you." He sees Wolverine, and you see his claws from his fingers kind of retract, and then Wolverine, retracts his claws.
Yeah.
And then there's one scene where they're getting ready to duke it out, and then Wolverine says, "Let's effing go." And they start running after each other, and just when you think it's going to be an epic beatdown between Sabretooth and Wolverine, he goes, slashes Sabretooth's head off.
What?
Yes, he slashes his head off. His body falls down. Deadpool grabs his head by the hair and says, "I serve Wolverine. I have the head of Sabretooth," blah, 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 so on and so. It's hilarious. Yeah. But that was kind of disappointing because I was expecting them to both throw down for an extensive amount of time.
One of those little bait and switch things.
It was a bait and switch thing.
Yeah, they're
yes.
like, oh, this, and then
Yes.
it's like the goofy
Yes.
thing that happens. Like, don't expect it to.
So anyway, as they get towards the end of the film, they realize that it then shifts focus back to the TVA, where they have to go back to the TVA to prevent all of the timelines from collapsing, not just the one that belongs to Deadpool, but all of the other subsequent timelines too.
Okay.
And so having watched Loki, will benefit you, because obviously in Loki they delve deep into the TVA.
You have an
and
understanding
understanding of the diminishing timelines and how
Yeah.
they're being destroyed. And so ultimately at the end of the movie, Cassandra Nova harnesses all of the energy from a machine that is responsible for keeping the timelines together. And she is basically harnessing that power, using her power, channeling it through that machine to destroy the timelines.
Okay.
And the only people who can channel that much energy through their bodies and counter what she's doing are Deadpool and Wolverine, because they have uncharted regenerative capabilities.
Okay.
So they end up doing that. They tie themselves together in the machine, and they end up blowing Cassandra Nova up, and then boom.
Oh no, you really spoiled it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
now
really
we
did.
know.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. Hit the button again. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Sorry, folks.
Yes. So yeah, the overall story, again, not going to win awards, but it is a fun movie.
Yeah.
A lot of humor in it. Not as much breaking of the fourth wall as the first two films.
Really?
Yeah, there's still some there, but not as much breaking of the fourth wall.
Okay.
There was an awesome fight scene in a Honda Odyssey. A Honda Odyssey minivan that I can't tell you about right now.
Okay.
I've spoiled too much as it is. But that, aside from the cameos and aside from the fact that it was just, I'll admit, it was good to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine.
Yeah.
Made it a fun film. It's worth watching. And hey, if you want to go see it, I'm willing to go watch it again. because
Really?
that
All
was
right.
fun.
Okay.
Yes,
All
yes,
right. We might have to
yes.
do that then. Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause
So on a scale of 1 to 10, obviously 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, I give it about a solid. I give it a solid 8.
okay. Oh, that's
It-
nice.
It does have its flaws. I'm not going to lie. It does have its flaws. But one of the other good scenes about it, too, is the fight between all the different multiverse Deadpools. Because you have, like, Baby Pool, you have Lady Pool, you have alternate... right. Okay, and then I can't tell you about this. Ryan Reynolds plays a happier version of Deadpool in another alternate reality.
Really?
Where he comes out and he has long hair, and he's like, I've never hurt anyone in my life.
Oh,
You
my
know, I'm
gosh.
devoted to peace and tranquility here, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
And there's a really funny scene during the massive fight scene between Wolverine, Deadpool, and the multiverse pools, where he uses the good Deadpool, the happy Deadpool, as a human shield, and he's constantly getting shot.
Oh
and he
my
looks down at
gosh.
one point, he's got all these bullet holes in him, and he says, I thought I was invincible. And then Deadpool goes, uh-oh, I guess you're not, or something like that. So, yeah. And then he still uses them as a human shield.
Oh, my gosh.
Eventually to the point where his head gets blown off by a shotgun.
Oh my god.
And so then Deadpool looks where the other Deadpool's head was blown off, and he says, okay, I wasn't expecting that. And then he still runs away with the body in his hand.
Oh my god.
So, yes.
It sounds wild, man.
It's a violent movie, very fun, funny as well. Lots of good cameos. I loved it.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think the TV? I mean, you had a lot of fun with it, and I know they had
Yes.
to kind of work this in the story where they could bring Wolverine back
Yes.
because we saw Logan. But do you think the TVA? Are you kind of tired of it? Are you kind of sick of it? Did it kind of work in this movie?
It
Was
actually, I'm going to cut you off mid-sentence. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It actually worked in this movie, and here's the reason why. This is actually, the TVA is actually paramount to the plot of the film, because one of the administrators of the TVA who went and recruited Deadpool actually made a deal with Cassandra Nova to find Wolverine, to find Deadpool, and to destroy the timelines. So the TVA plays a very instrumental role in driving the plot of the movie.
Okay.
The good thing about it is that there was a lot of it in there, but they didn't try and oversaturate the importance of the TVA. So in other words, we didn't see too much of it like we saw in the Loki series.
Yeah, in the Loki, man,
Yeah.
I was why I was asking, because in the Loki series, I was
Yeah.
just getting so sick of the TVA by that last season. I was like, I'm just
Yeah.
done with this, because it's like they kept seemed like they kept contradicting, or I don't know. It's like things would go nowhere, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not like this in the movie. You know,
Yeah.
it's there in the movie. There's a good chunk of it in the movie, but again, it's actually paramount to driving the plot of the film. But they do it enough to where it doesn't distract from the two main points of the movie, which are Deadpool and Wolverine. you know.
Okay.
So yeah, but it's definitely in there, and it's
Nobody's in the TVA station there eating pie, right?
I think donuts is what one of them was eating.
Oh, okay.
if
Well,
I
no.
remember
Well, my
correctly.
point is that in the TV series they had like Owen Wilson was like sitting there, his character was eating
He
pie.
and
like,
Loki were sharing some slices of apple pie,
and it's funny,
Yeah.
like maybe once, but they showed it like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, okay, come on, you guys are just
No.
filling. You guys are filling episodes.
Yeah,
up at
yeah,
this
yeah. It's
point.
nothing like that. Nothing like that.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, wow, 8 out of 10. Nice.
Yeah. So now, how this ties in with Deadpool 1 and 2 is that you don't necessarily need to see Deadpool 1 and 2 to enjoy the film, because even though some of those characters from the first two films are back,
Is
like
Colossus in there?
Colossus is in there, so is Negasonic Teenage Warhead. They're not in the bulk of the film, so they're not part of of Deadpool and Wolverine's journey. But Vanessa is back, portrayed by Morena Baccarin, who I have a secret crush on, by the way. She is hot. So,
when in that first movie especially, I was like, oh my gosh, who wouldn't? Yeah,
right, no kidding. And so then obviously you have Blind Al back, who was hilarious as always.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Blind Al is back.
Yeah.
So, but
what was she in? I've never looked her up, and when I saw her in the movies, I was like, why does she look so familiar?
Yeah, so Leslie Uggams is the actress's name. I actually Googled her.
She was in something recently. I know, because I was like, oh my gosh, I looked at her and I go, oh my gosh, I know she's in something.
Yeah, hold on here. I'll pull her up in just a second.
Whoops. Hold on. We're doing our best Jeopardy here. He's pulling her up. He's looking.
Okay, I got the cast. I got her bio up here. Give me a second.
He's checking out the IMDb.
No, actually Wikipedia.
Oh, Wikipedia.
Leslie Uggams. Okay, she was in, as I look at her filmography here, it goes way back to the 1960s.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. She's been around for a while. She was in Deadpool, Deadpool 2. She was in Dottie and Soul, 2022. The Ravine. Idea. American Fiction. She was in American Fiction with Jeffrey Wright.
I haven't seen that yet.
2023. And then some of her earlier film roles include Sugar Hill, 1993. She was in Skyjack, 1972. She has a lot of TV roles here, Eric.
Maybe it's from TV that I recognized her. Was she in Bosom Buddies?
No, she was. Okay. Oh, she was in the Mod Squad, 1972.
Oh, the Mod Squad. Maybe that's where I recognize her from.
And she was in Alex Haley's Roots, the miniseries. That came out in the mid '70s. With LeVar Burton.
All right. Okay.
So she was in that, and then she was also in an episode of Magnum PI. She was on the Love Boat. She was in the Cosby Show.
Oh my gosh,
A Different World. So she actually. Oh, she was on All My Children. No kidding.
Wow, what a
she
history here.
She actually has a more
legacy.
She has a more extensive TV resume than she does film resume. So she's been around for quite some time here.
Yeah, I still think there's something. I think whether it's been a TV or a movie, there's been something that she's been in. I think more recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, she looks. It's one of those. Actors, actresses that you look at and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so familiar. What were they in? And you can't pin it. And I just never looked it up.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. And who else is back? You're saying who else? Let's see. Anybody else from? That would be it, huh? Juggernaut's not back.
No, Juggernaut's not back. Juggernaut's not back. Cable is not back.
Cable would have been a good one.
Cable would have, but yeah.
It sounds like they had so many stinking cameos that there's no way.
They did pack it with a lot of cameos. And some of them got more screen time than others, like Wesley Snipes.
Oh, that's the question I was going to ask you. I mean, how did he look? Did he look like he could do another Blade movie right now?
You can definitely see he's aged, but he still looks like he's in fairly good physical condition. He probably worked out a lot while he was in prison for tax evasion, but which he was for 2 years for cheating on your returns.
When did he get out?
He was released from prison back in 2017, I want to say, if I remember correctly.
2017.
He was in prison for 2 years for tax
I heard somebody talking about him, shame on them for putting him away, man. He's a American icon. You can't put away Wesley Snipes.
Now, but yeah, I mean, he has a little bit of gray in his hair, but despite that, he still looks like he can play the role really well.
Well, that's the whole thing with Blade. He aged. He just aged a lot slower.
A lot slower, right?
So he could play. I was thinking about that. He could play Blade, but in like a future, maybe even dystopian type thing, because to kind of catch up with his age. Because of course he would age slower, so it would be
and his casting in the film actually has drawn not some criticism but some confusion, because as you may or may not know, Mahershala Ali, fantastic actor, was supposed to be cast as Blade in the MCU version of Blade.
Yeah, we've talked about it here on the show.
Yeah, but that project has completely blown up, and it has fallen flat to the point now where it is off the production
He's
table.
not doing it. He's going to go do other things. The director was flip-flopping. I think the whole going back to kind of a highlight what we talked about on the show.
Yep.
There was information about that they were going to make it basically female-centric, that it wasn't really going to be about Blade. He was kind of a side character. So there was a lot of issues with that.
So now with Wesley Snipes reprising his role, it's making me wonder if he'll come back as Blade again in the MCU version of Blade.
He should.
And I think he should too, yeah. And I love Mahershala Ali. He's a fantastic actor, and I think he would have been a great Blade. But Wesley Snipes is like, I mean, yeah, you got to have him back.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that I think if they do, if they did an older Wesley Snipes, and they could even have a younger character.
I just forgot about one of the most other famous cameos too.
Okay.
Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't hear that one either.
Okay.
Wow, interesting.
Here's why that is important. And this kind of actually ties into the Blade project in a way. Okay, so a few years ago, there were rumors, the rumor mill was hot about a solo Gambit movie in pre-production.
Okay.
Channing Tatum was supposed to be cast as Gambit.
All right.
Okay. That apparently fell off the table as well. It went into production purgatory, and it was never revived. I guess what happened was they couldn't agree on a principal script. It was being flip-flopped back and forth between studios. Directors were flip-flopping back and forth. Someone wanted to do it, then another director didn't want to do it. Long story told short, it got torpedoed by the MCU. They said, forget about it. Let's just not even worry about it.
Okay.
But now, lo and behold, Channing Tatum makes an appearance as Gambit in this film. And what made it even better was they had him dressed up like the actual character looked in the comic books, Eric.
Wow.
So he wore the head brace with his hair sticking out there on top.
Okay.
And he had the costume with the trench coat and then the little chest plate down here.
Yeah.
And he had some good screen time in this one too, and he threw down in it really good.
Really?
Yes. And so now I was geeked about that because I'm like, Channing Tatum would have been a great Remy LeBeau / Gambit, much better than Taylor Kitsch, who was cast as Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
All right.
And so now it's making me wonder, okay, now that Channing Tatum came back as Gambit, the rumor mill is now floating around on social media. Okay, when are we going to see the Gambit film now with Channing Tatum again? And when is he coming back? So I almost forgot about that cameo. I'm sorry.
Wow. Yeah.
So getting back to Wesley Snipes. Sorry about that.
No, that's interesting. It's interesting casting.
It is. Yeah.
Wolverine didn't take his head off in the first couple of seconds, did he?
No, he did not. So yeah, initially, and what happens with those characters is that Deadpool and Wolverine go to find a group of characters who have been fighting against Cassandra Nova. Blade is one of them, Elektra is the other, and then Gambit is the other one.
Okay.
And so
Jennifer Garner came back also.
Garner came back as Elektra.
How does she look as Elektra?
She still looks pretty darn good.
Okay.
Yeah, still looks pretty darn good, and she still knows how to handle the size really well. So yeah, they kind of form a little mini team there with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
And so they take down this the complex that Cassandra Nova rules while they cause a distraction while Deadpool and Wolverine do their thing.
This seems to be a theme with Deadpool movies because in 2, remember he got his team together.
The X-Force.
The X-Force, you remember that? Like what everybody except one, what was her name? Everybody gets taken out when they're parachuting in from the plane.
Right, the invisible character who got zapped by the power lines.
Yeah, you had it.
Turned out to be Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like everybody got jacked up when they were trying to.
That one guy fell into a wood chipper.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Who was that guy? That was the guy that vomited, right?
That was
and
the
then
guy
he
that vomited
on somebody helping him, and that guy was all jacked up. And,
yep,
yeah.
exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah, so it seems to be a thing with Deadpool and teams.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. I'm excited to see it, man. I may take you up on that to go check it out.
I think you'd like it. It's a lot of fun.
Did you get the popcorn bucket?
I did not get the popcorn bucket.
No. Did they have them there?
They did. Well, not to the best of my knowledge. We just got
Okay.
popcorn in just a regular bucket.
Okay.
But I got the kids.
You know what I'm talking about? The one that's like they had like a Wolverine head.
Yeah, I didn't see it there.
You didn't see it there?
So now we
okay.
went to a different movie theater. We went to Regal Cinemas.
Okay.
Not Regal, but the one down there on for those of you Fresno folks off of Shields and 41 there.
Signature.
The Signature film.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
So when we went to the Signature theater to go see it, I didn't see the Wolverine popcorn bucket there.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Well,
maybe they were sold out of them.
Or maybe they just don't have them because they weren't the major chain that was
Possibly.
carrying them.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a lot of fun. Definitely worth seeing.
Good. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Yeah. Good. Getting back to Blade though, to kind of wrap it up. Yeah, I think they should, man. I think they should not do. They don't need to do a young Blade story. They could do Wesley Snipes, do an older Blade. What I was getting at is they could even have him where he's kind of passing it off to the next person.
Yeah.
But I think they still need to have him and incorporate he's getting older and and who knows,
Yeah, most definitely.
that could work somehow. But all right. Anything else you got to say? Any last comments? Anything before we get out of here?
Last comments. All I'm really gonna
On Deadpool. Do you think they're not going to do another movie?
Maybe not.
Maybe.
There's one particular funny line in the movie.
Because Hugh Jackman's getting old, dude. I mean, how much?
Well, funny you mentioned that, because there's a funny line in the movie that Deadpool / Ryan Reynolds says to Hugh Jackman. Says, "Oh, by the way, welcome to the MCU. Disney will have you for life for the next 90 years." You'll be in Disney until you're 90. That's
okay,
what
I heard
says.
they bag. Is that the only time? I heard they do a lot of bagging on.
They bag
on Disney.
They
Okay.
bag Disney a few times on this. It's pretty
All right.
funny. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
But they not only bag on Disney, but they bag on the MCU a little bit as well too.
Yeah.
You know. So it's pretty funny.
It's funny because this has kind of got me hyped up. I actually want to go back and watch some of the old X-Men and
I'm going to.
Wolverine. You know, these movies.
Yeah, I'm going to
watch them again, just to revisit
Yeah.
them and stuff. It's
But-
been so long since I've seen them.
Yeah, but so yeah, again, hitting down my final thoughts. Just again, I was really enthused about, really geeked about it going into it. Was not disappointed. Again, folks, if you're going to see an Academy Award-winning film, turn around, save your money, and watch another movie.
And don't take the kids.
Don't take the kids, by all means. You're definitely not
Yeah.
going to want to take Amelia to see it.
No,
it's not
no. That's the thing is that I can't. You know, she would want to go, and I know I can't. Take her to this,
Yeah.
and even when I had to wait till she went to bed to watch the Deadpool movies, right? I'm like, you know, I kept looking over the couch, like, wait, she's not waking up, right? She's not, you know, because sometimes those of you that had kids, they wake up in the middle of the night and they kind of sneak in, like, what are you doing, Dad? You're like, oh, I got to stop the movie because of course, it always happens in the worst part, right?
Yep, exactly, it does.
Yeah. I will say this. I did see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman on The Hot Ones. You know, The Hot Ones is a YouTube show where they sit and talk about, I can't remember the host's name, but they sit and talk about the movie or whatever project they're in, and they're eating chicken or eating wings, hot wings, right, with this hot sauce. And of course, they escalate the hot sauce. That's the funny thing about the show, right? Is they escalate the hot sauce higher and higher and higher until they get the hottest one, the atomic bomb sauce, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you get to see these guys tortured, but still trying to answer questions. Great. If you guys want to check that out too, that's pretty funny. That was a great Hot Ones episode. So yeah, those guys, I will say, and I've heard this, and you can see on that show, you can just see in general on just little things that they do. These guys really like each other. I heard they have a lot of chemistry in this movie. And you can just tell Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, they seem like they really just enjoy, enjoy each other, and their company and doing the project. And,
well, and the funny thing is that social media kind of took their friendship and really perverted it to an extent. What I mean by that is that ever since the first Deadpool film, Ryan Reynolds had been poking a lot of fun at Hugh and his character, and then Hugh Jackman had been poking fun at him. So they had both been trading satirical barbs against each other.
Yeah.
But social media, doing what it does really well, completely distorted it and twisted it and perverted it and made it seem like both of these guys hated each other, which is far.
Really? I never heard that. Really?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth and a lot.
Are you talking before the movie and before all this came out?
I'm talking before the movie and before all this came out.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like during the. Okay, no, yeah,
No. Well, yeah,
I got you.
before.
Yeah, because they're little jabs. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so they both have been taking playful jabs at each other for the last couple of years. And again, like I said, social media doing what it does so well, blowing things out of proportion, made it seem like they made a mountain out of a molehill, and they made it seem like that these guys just were completely disgusted by the sight of each other, which again was so far from the truth. And so obviously it all came together with Deadpool and Wolverine here. They both kind of came together and said, "Hey, we're living happy and harmoniously here, so there's no animosity between either of us here," which is absolutely true. So, and in a way, I think Ryan Reynolds owes Hugh Jackman for the character of Deadpool, because we first see him in X-Men Origins Wolverine, which, by the way, completely, if you're going to watch that movie just for canon, folks, you're going to be disappointed. It completely screws Marvel canon up the wazoo. But in that film, Deadpool is in it, but just not the Deadpool we know now.
Origins?
X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Yeah, who was producing that?
Lauren Schuler Donner, the wife of Richard Donner, produced it. Hutch Parker did. A guy by the name of Gavin Hood was a guy that directed it. But so yeah, Ryan Reynolds' character Deadpool was in that film, but just not the version we see now. And so really it was thanks to his appearance in X-Men Origins Wolverine that brought about the standalone Deadpool movie, because everyone was so disappointed with the way that the character was portrayed in that film that they said, no. They left a sour taste in their mouth. they said, we got to tell the right story about this character. So that's
how it came about.
Yeah, so in a way, he owes Hugh Jackman for the popularity of the character and for the films and where they're at now.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice tidbit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. Well, that's it, folks. Yeah, it's a little bit long one, but definitely worth it.
Definitely, yeah.
So check out Deadpool Wolverine. Check out Bosom Buddies. What else
Yes.
do we say? 1942.
1942.
What was the other one? Oh, Bachelor Party.
Bachelor Party.
Yeah,
That's right.
Tom Hanks isn't in
Yes.
Deadpool and Wolverine, but he's in those other ones except 1942.
Exactly.
Anyway, thank you for listening to the show. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes.
Check out our social media. As always, if you can, like and review the show.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace out. God bless.
All right. Take care.